Hello and welcome to Cafe Artichoke. I'm Scott Cunningham, the Managing Director of OregonMusicNews.com, and we're here continuing our series of video podcasts with couples in the music scene here in the Portland, Oregon area. Today we're pleased to have with us Mark and LaRhonda Steele from the Steele Family Band, and I'd like to welcome the two of you to the podcast, and thank you for doing this.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah. So music.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of your life, right? It's full-time. It's a full-time occupation for the two of you, right?
Yes.
It's a lot of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Now I know, LaRhonda, you've got a background in gospel music and growing your musical interests and abilities out of the church, and I want to come back to that. Mark, I've got less of a feel for your musical background and kind of how you ended up playing the keys, and even the two of you meeting and forming this beautiful collaboration that you've got.
Well, I started playing piano when I was a little kid. You know, I grew up with my grandparents, and they always had music on in the house, and they were both musically inclined, you know. So, and there was a piano in the house, you know. And my dad is actually a jazz musician in Seattle, and so I went onto that, you know. But the path was pretty secular, you know.
Right.
We went from pop tunes to progressive rock to I said that disrespectfully. I should have said progressive rock.
Well, there's a lot of contributions to music across the board from a lot of different places. And coming out of Seattle, you lived in Seattle during this time?
No, I actually grew up on the Willapa Harbor.
Okay.
I grew up with my grandparents.
Okay.
But
So you couldn't escape the progressive rock scene.
you couldn't
North
escape
West.
it,
Yeah.
and it was it was good, and you know, Keith Emerson kind of sounded a little like Oscar Peterson when he tried. So then I got into jazz, you know. A lot of PBS, man.
Yes.
PBS is great.
Yes,
It
and
is.
for those of us who aren't as familiar with New Orleans music, we're talking about Porter, Batiste, and Stoltz. Yes.
Yeah. So I heard a lot of different kinds of music, everything from classical. I like Chopin a lot, you know. Not that I can execute it that well, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of imitators, and I'm not sure anyone can do it like he did.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But then you know, when we got married, there was definitely a gospel influence, and it's gotten to be where that's, I think, my main gigs are gospel now.
Right.
Yeah. Church things, and I love the music, you know.
So you grew up about as far away from water as you possibly could.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming from
Grew
Oklahoma.
up in the dust.
Yes.
Yes.
Grew up in the dust.
The red dirt, red clay dirt.
Red
yeah.
clay dirt with farms around and corn stalks
Yeah.
out of the great Midwest plains.
Yes. Thunderstorms and tornadoes.
Thunderstorms and
Yeah.
tornadoes. We don't have as many of those here.
No, I kind of miss that in a way. I miss the loud thunderstorms that just shake the roof.
Yeah.
You know, of the house where you're afraid the lightning is gonna come through the, you know. So,
Yes,
just-
you are. Yep, I remember those days growing up in Indiana.
yeah.
Yeah. So, how did you gravitate toward music?
Oh, like Mark, there's music always in the air. My mother and her sisters were singers with, my grandfather was a Baptist evangelist. And so they sang together when he would go out to preach. So they sang a cappella, and I was involved with a Church of Christ, which that philosophy believes in no musical instruments, just the voice. So early on, you hear the chords and you hear the voice being this beautiful instrument. And then later on, we moved to a Baptist church, and they had instruments, and I learned to love the piano. And there wasn't much to do in Oklahoma but go to church and go to school,
Right.
and listen to the radio and watch TV. So we just grew up singing, grew up listening to the radio.
Right.
Yeah.
So what kind of music did you listen to on the radio?
Oh my gosh, it changed. But first I would listen to, there was one black station in Oklahoma where they listen, R&B station.
That was pretty progressive of Oklahoma,
And it was on the AM dial,
Yes.
so you gotta.
Well, and that time, that's the AM dials where the hip kids hung out anyway.
Okay, I didn't know I was hip at the
Yes,
time. I
yes.
was just trying to put the radio and the antenna just right, because at certain times of night you'd have to move the radio and the antenna. So I listened to a lot of R&B at first, and then, oh my goodness, I fell in love with rock and roll, classic rock, because the boys were so pretty. They, like Duran Duran, and even liked Quiet Riot. I liked Van Halen, REO Speedwagon. Everybody was so pretty in their hair. And at one point I would buy the magazines, and I had posters all over my walls, and my family would come in like, what is this? What kind of music is this you like? But I loved it.
Right.
And then gravitated more back to R&B and different styles because of the melodies and the rhythms of the R&B music. So all of that mixed in while singing gospel too.
Right.
But I love my rock and roll. I love rock and roll.
Yeah. So that sets the two of you up for this interesting fusion in terms of your ability to carry a song that's got a lot of punch to it in terms of the R&B angle on top of the gospel angle, and then you bringing Emerson, Lake and Palmer to the picture, or Steve Winwood.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So you've got all of that. Tell us how you met and kind of how you ended up performing together.
She's going to hate this story, but
Because
well, I won't
go on
say
and tell the folks what you
everything,
thought.
What I thought. Okay. Well, I was actually playing in an R&B band at the time, and she had come in with some of her friends.
Right.
And this was before she had met Norman Sylvester. She had done something. I think you had done the Blues Festival prior to that with Janice or something.
Yeah, I met Ken Berry was the first musical person that I met, and through him, Janice worked closely with Ken Berry and World Arts Foundation, and she was a singer's piano player. I mean, she loved to accompany vocalists, and I had the opportunity to meet her then. Right. Yeah.
But she was in the place. It was Shadans. Was that what it was?
Shadans.
And I was in an R&B band, and we were playing, and the guys in the band knew LaRhonda and the two girls she was with at the time.
Yeah. They mostly knew the two girls.
And mostly knew the two girls. Yeah. And she came in and sat in, and she sounded, how she sounds.
Right.
So
I didn't know.
I was the Caucasian in the club, and I came over to the table. It's a little intimidated, I guess. I came over to the table and said, "Hey, you sounded great," and she very politely said thank you, and and that was that.
He thought I snubbed him.
Well, no.
Yeah, see, now here's where we get to the
Yeah,
juicy
let's get to the,
details.
yeah.
And being a guy, I've been trained well enough to know that her story is going to be a little bit more accurate, or at least is the one that's going to carry the day.
Well,
so what's your recollection of what happened?
You know how those movies are, they show different people's interpretation of the same event.
Yes.
Well, first of all, I will say, I went in with my friends, you're right, and it was Shadans, and I sat in, but remember, I hadn't had much experience at all with a live band.
Right.
So
That's a
I
lot
was
different singing
scared
live.
out of my brains.
Yes.
And I can say this now, I didn't smoke a lot of weed, but my friends smoked weed, and so I smoked weed that night, and so I was already like,
This is the first I've heard.
Oh, I smoked a little weed with the girls, and I was already like, and I hadn't gone out to nightclubs that much. I really was in school and in the church. Hadn't gone to night. I didn't really know what to wear, and they had to help me find clothes to wear, and I just was so. And then when I got up to sing, I didn't think I sounded good because I didn't know I was high, and I was scared. And then he was, he said that to me, and I was like, okay, thank you, because I didn't think I sounded great. So that's what that was.
So was that kind of the first feedback then from a professional musician at that point?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then we didn't really that night. We just kind of said hello, and then I think now see, this is the part that gets her. I think what happened to her, or with her, is that she wanted to confer with her friends to make sure that everything was going to be cool. I think she had a certain amount of peer pressure, or she was feeling that like that could be the case, you know.
I have never dated a white guy ever in my life.
Yeah.
You're my first and only, so it was different. And
I told her all kinds of lies about white guys because
I mean, I never had. And he certainly, I find him quite attractive. And so I didn't know how to date and, go through that whole thing.
Yeah, and if it makes you feel better, I don't think we ever really learn how to date.
Okay. I had no smooth moves.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I was just really scared. And go ahead.
Oh, we had bumped into each other. After that, we bumped into each other several times, and then just started talking. And the conversations got longer and more fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, did I interrupt you?
No. And I noticed he had the most beautiful legs. He had some great looking
Want to see him?
legs. No. That was 25 years ago. Anyway, they're still beautiful. They're beautiful. But yeah, we got, there was some musicians that wanted to put a band together.
Right.
And with the young lady that I was out with that night and her boyfriend who was the bass player. And so we all kind of sat around and had a meeting about it. And I noticed when we came in, there was an empty seat on either side of me and one across the table. Guess where he sat?
He sat across the table.
You know he did.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't like him. But anyway, but I do like him. Yeah. And so my friends thought that it would be a good idea to kind of hook us up together.
Yeah.
So
at that age, I would have sat across the table from you as well.
I probably would have.
Today, I'd sit next to the lady. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there's a lot of things you just don't know when you're young, and you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And knowing him the way I do, that's just his nature. He's very polite and very conscientious, almost painfully so. But that's what I've grown to appreciate about him. I'm kind of like a bull in a china shop sometimes, just showing the emotion that I'm feeling then. But he's somewhat more reserved. Right. So, and he thinks more. I respond.
And you respond. So you end up gigging together and growing closer over time, and you eventually started writing your own material together.
Yeah, we did. I hadn't ever written songs, and he had about 5 or 6 tunes that you had written throughout your life, right? Yeah. And so I convinced him to please let's do an album, and it was painstaking. We learned a lot. Mm-hmm. We learned a lot, mm-hmm. And it wasn't easy. I'd like for us to record again sometime. Mm-hmm. We know better how to do it. Right. It was indeed a labor of love. Mm-hmm. And he helped me write a little bit more, so I trusted him. Right. And that's really a big part of writing together, is just trusting the other person.
Yeah. We were both actually, prior to the CD that we produced, we were in another band, and I'm not going to say what it was, but it was a band where neither of us really had any control over what happened, and it just kept on going the same way, and eventually there got to be a little animosity, but that was kind of like that was a type of motivation, Mm-hmm. You get out of that situation, and then you have to kind of land on your feet and do that, and it's like, well, let's do all this stuff that we were going to do, mm-hmm. that we didn't seem to have the time or the power to get going. Right. So it was a lot of work, but we had to do it. We had to birth that CD. It had to happen. So.
Yeah. So we're set up to have you all do a tune or two for us. Could I get you to do something?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the first song we had talked about was "I Am." Mm-hmm. Yeah. Where'd that come from?
Well, it came from over the years I've collaborated with my husband as well as other songwriters. A friend of mine named Edward Snyder. He owns Gresham Music. He's been, we recorded a CD together called Yes Please. And again, like Mark, Ed had some songs laying there, and I'm always an advocate for musicians who have original music. Right. I'm always like, come on, well, let's record it. I'm like, come on, let's just do it. And so he and I recorded the Yes Please album, has 10 to 12 originals on it. Mm-hmm. And so with the, Ed has joined the gospel choir that Mark and I are a part of. And with those gospel influences, Ed came up with I Am That I Am. He came up with the structure of the song, and then I wrote some verses. Right. And so it turned into this really, really beautiful tune that we are now doing with the Portland Interfaith Gospel Choir. And a good friend of ours, Shelton, James Shelton, came down from, where is he from? He's out of Philadelphia. Yeah. He came down and recorded the original piano track, and it's just a beautiful song. I am that I am. God is always everything. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, let's take a listen to it. Here's Mark and LaRhonda Steele with their original song, I Am.
Yes.
And always has been. I am that I am, which was and always has been. Seek and you will find that we've been together all this time. Knock and the door will open. I'm the way and the truth, the light. And I am that I am, which was and always has been. Which was and always has been. The hour is growing late. God has opened up his gates. See, she receives all people and all faiths. So I'm claiming my estate, oh, my estate. And always has been. Oh, I am, which was and always has been. I am there for you. Yes, I am, which was and always has been.
Well, that was wonderful. Yeah, that was great. Thank you for coming in here and doing that for us. In terms of, we've talked about the two of you as a couple and your musicality and where that came from your parents. You've got two lovely daughters who are very musically inclined as well.
Yes, yeah. Well, they had to be. They weren't going to get away from me without being a part of it. I sang with my sister and my mom, and my mom sang with her family. That's just the way it is, and so that's kind of that's what I saw it as. I mean, we've got this incredible piano player here that lives, that I'm married to. So let's let's all sing and play together. That's just natural.
Yeah. Now, do you see the girls going into music full time, or?
You know what? They're feeling it out. It's a possibility, but we're not going to try to steer them one direction or the other, because they're doing great at whatever they decide to do.
Right. We have been
Probably because we're not trying to make them.
We're not trying to make them be
us's,
any.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a big lesson for parents to learn.
But
It just was easy for us. I'm not into pressuring, except for when I first pressured them into singing.
You made them sing on the CD.
I did.
That, yeah.
And then Linda Hornbuckle had Lauren sing an original song at the Waterfront Blues Festival in front of thousands.
Right.
I think she was like 13 or 11 or 13, and she got the bug then.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So, yeah.
They're both very musical. Sarah studied with Israel Ano, drums, and a couple of times with Brian Foxworth, and she's actually got great rhythm. She's a great drummer. She just didn't like the fact that drums have to be set up and tore down at each gig.
That's a lot of work.
And she won't
She had she's a social animal.
Yes, she is.
So I think she's really interested in political science. She's in the band.
At Howard University.
At Howard,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I think she might be leaning into political science or politics, you know, and she's got a lot to say, and she's
constantly.
She's a very good debater.
She and her dad. Ooh. Well, I just sit back and watch it.
good.
Dinner time conversation.
Oh,
No,
man.
we'll sometimes get downright like angry. It's always very temporary, you know. It's like we're yelling at each other, but you know.
And Lauren and I, we just sit and watch.
And then it'll be okay though. So she knows how to do that. She knows how to be like aggressive and then ease off. You know. So if she goes into politics, she'll be good at it. I bet. You know.
It's a treat watching our kids grow up.
Yes.
It's fun to watch it. You can kind of live a little bit vicariously through what they do.
Yeah.
I think that's half the joy. So that's another reason not to try to make them into little versions of you.
Oh yeah, I don't want them to be a little version of me. Them to be better, stronger, faster, wiser. Yeah.
I think we all want that for our kids.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Portland Interfaith Gospel Choir. I hope I got the name right. That's a project that I know is very near and dear to both of your hearts. Where did that come from?
It came originally from a wonderful lady who came up. I remember we were at Topalias, and oh boy, why am I not remembering her name? I've been having issues with remembering names. But it's the Interfaith Choir is based off of the mother choir in Oakland, California. It's called the Oakland Interfaith Gospel Choir. And what this entails, its mission statement, is to use gospel music black gospel music as a way to bring people of all faiths, all races, all genders, all whoever you are, together to sing the art form of black gospel music. And there are interfaith choirs all over the world. We had a convention down in Oakland about 2 or 3 years ago, and there was a choir from Kenya, there was a choir from Vancouver, BC, there was a Danish choir, just from all over the world. And it's amazing to see the love and the honoring of black gospel music.
Right.
I mean, those folks knew more about it than I did. I lived it, so somewhat of the facts and stuff aren't necessarily in my brain. I just live it, and I grew up in it. And Janice Marie Scroggins was the first piano player, and her name is Christy Hellum. She started it, and she approached Janice, and Janice said yes. And then I thought to myself, I had some prejudices. I did. I said, "Are you sure?" And Janice said to me, "Yes." She said, "Look at how happy everybody's face is. People want to learn this. People want to embody that spirit, that expression." And she said, "Why would you say no to that? Why, It's always yes. And I was like, okay, so I learned a lot. It's been about 7 or 8 years. I learned a lot about letting go of what I think it's supposed to look like.
Right.
And letting go of trying to be cool for other people. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm not sure what the African American community thinks about it. I just know what's right in my heart, which is to share this music. I mean, and we are not a religious endeavor. It's not a religious. We don't put any of the philosophies from the music on anybody. That's where the interfaith part comes in. So we have Jewish people, we have agnostics, we have Buddhists, we have science of mind people, and when we all get together, we study the art form of Black gospel music. So it's been really interesting. It's like it shouldn't work, but it does.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Music definitely has a power to transcend and touch people very, very deeply. What do you see happening in that circle while you're rehearsing or taking a look at a particular song or a gospel writer?
What I've seen happen is people finding their voice. I've had several choir members come up to me and say, I didn't really sing much, or it's been 20 years since I sang. I had a music teacher that, treated me badly,
right.
or I was involved in a church and I was ostracized because of this or that, and so there's a lot of wounds that are actually healed. Not that we are not a ministry. That's just what the power of music does.
The healing power.
It's the healing power of music. I've seen people who are kind of introvert gain this community, and they get together and they have a good time, almost so it's like, y'all need to stop talking, we gotta learn music. But you find your place. We've got this term, we've got beautiful people who identify as she. I've had to ask, what pronoun would you like for us to use?
Right.
And that, to me, is such a great opportunity to live what you're singing about, to live that inclusivity, to live the idea of cooperation among people who come from different backgrounds. And I've seen people just grow and are more open. And they're
right.
more expressive in the way that they sing. A lot of them are just like hands down to the side and have never swayed and clapped. And it's a safe place to learn that. We're not mocking anybody, a little bit, but we mock you enough
Yes.
lovingly to get you to loosen up.
As a prod.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've seen it change people's lives in that way.
We've actually had people, we've gotten emails having to do with people suffering from borderline severe depression that actually said it helped them, to recover, get on the road to recovery, which is just like, that's the biggest gift you can get.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, isn't it incredible what happens when we actually bring people together and we can see each other as individuals?
And then when you have that sound and you're all sounding so good, there's nothing else like it. Yeah, it's a beautiful sound. And I get to stand in front of it. I've thanked the choir many times. I said, thank you for letting me stand in front of you and listen to you grow and learn these songs. I said, it's just such a gift. Yeah. Now, John Gaynor is also a co-director as well. So myself, John, and Mark are the musical leaders. Yeah.
So where can someone go to find more information?
Well, you can go to I think it's portlandgospel.com.
So yes,
and we have a Facebook page. It's the Portland Interfaith Gospel Choir. We also have our major fall fundraiser coming up November 24th.
November 24th.
It's a Sunday at Mount Tabor Presbyterian, Tabor Space. So.
Well, I'm glad we were able to get this up and
me too.
out in front of this.
So please come and
definitely.
it's such a wonderful experience.
Yeah. you've mentioned the healing power of music, which is, for me at least, somewhat of a segue to some of your own personal struggles and what you've had to face. And I know there's going to be a little bit of a delay when we get this actually out into our website. But just yesterday, you had a very important event in your life.
I did. I call it a mommygram, but now it's mommy and daddygram because men need to actually, males need to actually go and get screened as well for breast cancer. So I've known at least there are 2 to 3 men in my life who have been diagnosed with breast cancer.
Right.
So I am cancer-free from stage 3 breast cancer, diagnosed in 2013, and I'm cancer-free since then. Had surgery after surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, and every single time just got back up. Because at the same time I was still directing the interfaith choir, and that just brought me so much joy and healing to be with my musical community and to still be doing what I loved. Yeah. And so it's been an incredible journey. It's not easy.
No, it's definitely not easy. I mean, you and I have talked about this before. My mom had breast cancer pretty much at the same time you did, and it is not an easy struggle.
And she's a bit older. I was about 40-something, so they just kind of threw the book at me. Radiation, chemo, mastectomy, all of this stuff, reconstruction, so I'm grateful to even just be sitting here. And it was good to see your mom a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, she thoroughly enjoyed that.
Oh, she's a sweet lady.
Yes, I will pass that along to her. Well, actually, Mom, you're watching this,
Yay.
so you can hear what LaRhonda just had to say. I'm tempted to ask you how music helped you through that. How did it help you?
Good question.
Because that's not easy watching someone you love go through that.
Yeah, it's not. But it definitely we had some, man, I don't want to talk about anything that's too personal, but there are some songs that actually got me. Gregory Porter.
Oh, boy. He was there with me at every appointment through the hours of chemotherapy. He was sitting right there. Drove me to all of the radiation treatments, which was every day for about 6 weeks. Had to go and get the radiation treatments, and he saw the tubes hanging out. He helped me drain the tubes. Lord Jesus.
Gregory Porter. I'm better now. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, but those Gregory Porter tunes are really something else.
Yeah.
I've mentioned him 3 times now, so I guess.
Yeah, he's pretty amazing. You got to check Gregory Porter out.
I will make a note of that.
Great poet, singer.
The two of you definitely seem to have come out on the other side in a really, really good place.
Yeah, we. I just love him. I just love him. He's,
Yeah.
No matter how troublesome I am.
No matter how much of a male-headedness that we bring to the table.
See, I had like 2 syllables that would have described what I am, but I'm not gonna. I can't be.
Well, I don't have a delay and a bleep, so I couldn't take that out on the fly anyway. But I'm curious about how this maybe kind of this theme of the closeness of the two of you relates to the music that you write together. How does that come out?
We haven't written anything in a long time.
Right? We don't write that much together.
No.
We did.
You know what? I come to him with a melody, and I say, "Can you put some chords to this?" Because I do. Sometimes when I write now, it's dealing with the choir or the church that I'm at. And I'll say, "Honey, I got some lyrics, and can you put some chords to this?" But I don't know why. Ask him why he won't write with me anymore.
I kind of.
Okay, well, why won't you write with her anymore?
Well, after we did that CD,
I'm asking for a friend.
some time ago. Yeah. After we did that CD, I got a bit burnt out on writing because I was writing a lot for the CD that we did, and man, it's just all the work that got into it, and it became what was very meaningful suddenly became very analytical.
Yes.
And you get caught up in the minutia of it instead of and it was kind of hard to get started writing again. I'm actually thinking about writing again. Our daughter Lauren, I should plug her because I know I talked about
She's
Sarah.
an incredible writer.
Lauren writes some great stuff.
She's amazing.
So I'm kind of into listening to what she's doing next because she goes up into a room for 20 minutes and comes down with brilliance.
I made a video.
Wow.
She's
like,
really good. She's
yeah,
really a good writer. And,
she's always been a good writer. She started, in school she wrote well and was well read. So she's been that for a while.
Right.
So I'm hoping, when you're ready to write again, you might want to write one with me or something.
Yeah.
You don't have to because I've written with other people too. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I'm gonna write some stuff. In fact, I'm caught up in this schedule is so ridiculous right now. But
You all have a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I don't want to pass the opportunity by to talk about that.
Yeah, and that's probably part of the not writing much because you get caught up in a schedule, you get caught up in a little wind and.
Yeah, every time we turn around, we have to learn too many new songs for a different project.
Yeah.
He's doing Black Nativity. You want me to just say it?
Yeah, go ahead.
He's doing Black Nativity. He had the great opportunity to be the keyboard player for that this year, as well as the choir stuff, as well as the country band that he works with in out of Seattle way, as well as the band stuff that we do. What else are you doing? I think those are but that's enough.
Right.
Good Lord. And he's charting all these things out. He's the musical director for the choir, and so once we start performing, he's got to write the charts and direct the other musicians. So I've got the choir, director of music for Portland Center for Spiritual Living. I work with the Ants in the Kitchen. I work with Frogtown, Philip Peltier. We're going to be traveling here in November.
Okay.
Frogtown. What else? And we're doing Nina Simone tribute.
And you're doing that with Julie Amici, right?
Yeah, we're going to Manzanita. Yeah.
We got when's our rehearsal?
Oh shoot, our rehearsal's at 4 today.
Oh, we're okay.
Oh, okay. And we also have our long-standing Nina Simone tribute that's at the Alberta Rose, and that's going to be next March. That's the main one there. But and then I'm going to be working with Art Abrams. We're going to be doing. I'm going to be singing some Elvis tunes.
Ooh.
I want to hear
in front of a big band.
Elvis versions.
That could be really good.
Yeah, it could be. It will be. So I'm doing all of that in this brain and he's doing all of that, while we sit here. So
sometimes we get to say hello as we pass through.
For real. So definitely appreciate you taking the time to come in here and do this for us. Could we get you to do another song?
Yeah.
I think we had talked about Full Grown Woman.
Yeah.
And that's another original, right?
It is.
Yeah. Can you tell us about that song?
Well, I was in the depths of chemotherapy. And it was a particularly tough series of treatments because they mixed 2 cocktails for the first half, and then for the second half there was a different cocktail, and it caused some neuropathy and some severe, just really awful pain. And for a minute there, I forgot who I was. I was doing okay. I could jump back up. The music kept us distracted and inspired during that time. And the kids, of course, too, right? Getting up and taking them to sushi every Sunday, even when I didn't feel like it. But this song came when I was particularly down, and I had some surgeries and lost all my hair, and I was feeling awful about myself. And so I had to go back to my roots, which are gospel and blues. And I say, who am I? I'm not the pain. I'm not my body. I'm not my hair. I'm not any of that stuff. Who am I? I'm a full-grown woman. I love it's kind of based on that. I'm a man, a hoochie coochie man. Well, I'm a full-grown woman, GROWED.
Yes.
That's right, baby.
All right.
That's that Oklahoma influence.
That's that Oklahoma
Yes, it
thing.
is.
Now I know you full grown. I get it, but I'm
Yeah.
growed, full grown,
Yeah.
baby.
All right. Well, then here's Mark and LaRhonda Steele once again with Full Grown Woman.
Hey. Hey, hey. She knows what she wants. She knows how to get it. She'll buy you some breakfast and have her way with you. Pull you in so deep, you just might regret it. But there ain't nothing you can do. Yeah, she's a full-grown woman, tested, tried, and true. Yeah, a full-grown woman, baby, and I got my eye on you. Yes, I do now. Hey. I'm gonna cast my net. I'm gonna reel you in, cause LaRhonda's looking for the one with the prettiest fin. When I smile on you, and when I look your way, nothing in your world will ever be the same, baby. Fully grown, tested, tried, and true. Now, I'm a full-grown woman, baby, and I got my eye on you. Yeah. I've been tried by the fire, y'all. I've been dragged through the pouring rain. Had pain all through this body. Felt like I'd never be the same. And with a lot of love, with a lot of time, my fire's still burning bright, and I'm still in the fight, baby. Full-grown woman, tested, tried, and true, yeah. Uh-huh. I'm a full-grown woman, baby, and I got my eye on you, yeah. Hey, hey, say full-grown woman. Say full-grown woman, yeah. G-R-O-W-E-D, baby. I'm a full-grown woman, yeah, yeah, yeah. Fully grown, tested, tried, and true. Hey. I'm a full-grown woman, baby, and I got my eye on you. Bubba-dibba-dee-bo. Yeah.